So I just had a conversation with an agent for the past few weeks, has had decent selling weeks. I mean, she's been selling 5 to 6 policies a week, but she hasn't been making any money. And so it just wasn't making sense. And she's doing everything right. She's buying her leads, she's making her dials, she's following her script. Why isn't it resulting into actual money, right? Why is nothing actually paying out? Well, we took a deeper look and went over her numbers, and we found one seemingly small problem that led to pretty big consequences. Now, funny enough, I had a very similar conversation and we found the same issue with another agent just a few weeks ago. And this agent was having such a rough week that it led to him doing anything and everything he could to try to, make a sale, to the point where he starts fake crying to try to overcome objections. It was such a mess. Check it out.
You don't want me, I know. You don't want me to help you this transaction.
Stop.
I'm so disappointed.
No.
I'm gonna get fired.
So what was the problem? How did he get there in the first place? Well, what we found for these two agents is, although they were doing everything right on paper, one thing they were missing is they weren't doing a good enough job at qualifying their prospects. That means they were spending too much time with the wrong people and they were burning themselves out quicker. So I'm gonna share with you the advice that I shared with them. And my hopes are that by the end of this video, you can use this information to go make twice as much money while spending less time on the phone, so that you can spend more time doing whatever the you want. And real quick, if you don't know who I am, my name is Kevin Montes. I sell final expense life insurance 100% over the phone. Last year, I sold about $250,000 on my personal pen, and I didn't do it by spending hours chasing the wrong people. So the reason that I make videos like this one today is so that you don't make the same mistakes that a lot of other agents do, and you can start making real money sooner than I do. Okay, so how do you qualify your prospects? I mean, who do you know who's qualified and who's not, especially early on in your conversation? Well, first, you need to understand the 4 types of prospects that you're dealing with every single day. Now, I got this idea from Jordan Belfort in his book, The Way of the Wolf. Really good book, by the way. And in that book, there's a chapter all about qualifying, actually, where he describes the 4 types of prospects. He says buyers, I say prospects, because they're not always buyers. Okay, so let's break those down. So who are the 4 types of people that you're dealing with every day? Number 1, buyers in heat. These are the absolute laydowns, right? They're the easiest to present to talk to deal with. There's a clear need or a clear want. They might have questions, but they don't really give you any objections. These are the easiest people to sell to, right? Because they've already made a decision to buy. They're done waiting. And a lot of times, these are people that maybe, recently had some kind of, I'm going to say catastrophic event in their lives. Like maybe they just went to a funeral, right? Or maybe they just had a serious health scare up. Maybe they had a heart attack recently, or maybe their spouse had a heart attack, right? Someone around them had that kind of health scare, and it made them realize that they're not invincible, right? And that everybody needs life insurance because nobody knows when that day is going to come, right? They've just realized that, so they're coming in hot, right? They already want what you offer. Now, these are absolute gold, and I wish they could all be like that, and I'm sure you do too, but the reality is they're not. It's super, super rare for you to run into people like this. It is what it is, but they're nice to have, right? Whenever they come, it's, I welcome them with open arms. Your second type of prospect are your buyers in power. Okay, so buyers in power are similar. I mean, they come in with an intention to buy, but they lack urgency, right? They don't really feel like they need it immediately. And because of that, they feel like they're in a position of power. Like they can, shop around and they hold all the cards, right? That's where that term comes from. So they might say things like, yeah, I've been trying to get this done, or I've been meaning to get this done, but I haven't got around to it. Or yeah, I know that we should have life insurance, or I know everyone needs life insurance, but fill in the blank, right? So they understand the value in it, but for whatever reason, they lack urgency. So this is going to be the majority of your clients. People that can be helped, people that are genuinely interested, and they just need a little bit of a nudge. They need someone to guide them and to help them see the seriousness of taking action now. So that's where your job as the agent becomes to create urgency, right? Through helping them visualize the consequences of their actions if they refuse to take action, right? So that's your job, and that's what these videos are pretty much mostly about. Okay, so those are your buyers in power, and those are the ones that you want to spend all your time with. Now, who are the other 2 types? Type number 3 are called looky-loos. Okay, these are your tire kickers, right? Your professional time wasters. And these guys are super dangerous because they act like buyers in power. They say the same thing. Oh, I've been meaning to get this done, XYZ. It's very hard for an inexperienced agent to be able to notice the difference between a buyer in power and a looky-loo. They engage in conversation, they ask questions, right? They request the quote, but they have absolutely zero intention of actually buying anything. And the sad reality is a lot of times these are people that, they don't actually want to make a change. They just want to make themselves feel like they're making a change. Because see, for some people, trying is enough. I mean, and I've talked about this before in other videos where some agents do the same shit, right? Where they go, hey, I'm going to try this out, but they don't actually commit to it. I mean, this is the same idea, right? It's the people that maybe subscribe to a gym membership, but then they never actually go, right? It's the same idea. They just want to make themselves feel like they're making a change, but they're not ready to make that change. So again, these are the hardest to weed out because they mimic buyers in power so well, but they're very dangerous and they will hurt your productivity if you don't spot them early enough. But we'll talk a little bit more on that later. So that's the third type of prospect. Now, the fourth type of prospect is your straight up mistakes. So these are people that just clicked the wrong website. Maybe they were bait and switched by an ad. You bought the lead that way. Right? It does happen when you buy from lead vendors. It is what it is. And so when you call them, they seem genuinely surprised or confused when you tell them, what you're calling about. They're like, oh, right? Like, how many times does that happen? Like they have, 5 policies, they're set up properly, and they just shouldn't have been on that list in the first place. They'll probably tell you, hey, I don't remember making that request. I apologize. And a lot of times they're polite about it. Usually the ones that are kind of rude and jumpy, those are the ones that they're actually just showing sales resistance. But when they're being like, if they're being genuine about this, they were probably just a mistake. And when that's the case, you don't really have a huge chance of closing. I mean, you might want to kind of like probe them a little bit, like, hey, well, do you have life insurance? And like spend a little bit of time seeing if you can or spark a little bit of interest. But if you don't see it go anywhere, just, it's best to just let it go and move on to the next person. So buyers in heat, buyers in power, looky-loos, and mistakes. Those are the 4 types of people that you're going to deal with every day. Cool. Now that we understand, your goal should be to identify them early in your conversation and eliminate the last 2 as soon as possible. That way you only spend time with the first 2. However, it doesn't end there. Because see, even your buyers in power and your buyers in heat can sometimes be unqualified. So now let's talk about that a little bit. What makes a prospect unqualified? What are the 4 major disqualifiers that we need to look out for? Okay, well, the first reason, and this is one of the most common ones, is they might be financially unqualified. What does that mean? Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. They either don't have any source of income, which, I mean, how are they going to pay for a policy in that case? But the second thing, and this happens a lot in our senior market, is they don't have a valid checking account. So they only have maybe like a direct express card, or maybe they use like Cash App, to run everything. And those are very red flags, and I do not recommend moving forward with them. Now, why do I not recommend it? Well, think to yourself, why do you think that they don't have a regular checking account? Like, what reason might there be? Most of the time, the reason is because they can't get one, because they've been delinquent so many times in the past with banks that now they're put on some kind of, think of it like a vector list, right? The way that agents get vectored with insurance carriers, they get vectored with banks, basically blacklisted, where now no bank wants to take them because they've been delinquent so many times and they, continue to let things overdraft or whatever the case might be. So now no bank wants to work with them. So now what they have to do to, in order to collect their social security checks is they get it on a little green, plastic direct express card. It gets deposited right into that every month, and that's how they get paid. So it's already a huge red flag that they're so bad with managing their money that this is the only thing they can get, a government card basically. Or even worse if it's like on a Cash App or something, because then what they do a lot of times is they keep their account locked and they only unlock it when they're about to buy something that they want. You don't think one day they're going to either forget or intentionally keep their card locked when the insurance company's going to, it's going to charge back. And matter of fact, this is a real statistic. The average persistency on direct express card business is 30% nationwide. That means that if you write direct express business, on average, 30% of that is going to stick. 70% of that is going to completely charge back and lapse. Now, if that's a number that you want to work with, by all means, more power to you. I find it a lot more useful to spend my time with people that are able to pay their premiums. Because here's the thing about business charging back. Nobody wins in that case. Right? It's not just about you. Because when you get so many chargebacks, one, you're working for free, right? Because you're not actually getting paid. You're having to pay all that money back. And on the client side, they're not being helped either because like they can't even get out of their own way to keep up with their insurance premiums. So they're not actually being helped, right? Like they end up at the end of the day with no insurance policy all over again. So what was the point of everything? You end up with no money, they end up with no policy. Everybody wasted a bunch of time. So the way that I see it, if banks don't want their business, I shouldn't either. Can that be insensitive or can that be whatever? I'll allow you to be the judge of that. You're allowed to judge me, but I'm just trying to help you stay in business. That's all that really matters to me right now. So now what are some red flags to look out for there, by the way? I mean, if they're not telling you straight up in the beginning, well, if while you guys are having a conversation, they maybe bring up or ask,
Hey, can I pay by mail order?
that's a huge red flag, right? I mean, that's a huge red flag and the answer should be no. I don't really know of any carriers besides maybe one that still takes mail order or money orders or whatever that's called. Or sometimes they might even, disclose that they turn their card on and off or unlock it and lock it. That's number one, right? That's disqualified number one is they're not financially qualified. Either they don't have the income or they don't have a reliable account to pay from. Number two, they're medically unqualified. So this, of course, depends on you and the carriers that you offer, the carriers that you work with, because not all agents or not all insurance companies offer guaranteed issue policies, right? So if you don't offer guaranteed issue policies, which accept everybody, then yeah, you're gonna have to know if they're even gonna qualify medically for what you can offer them. So because this varies so much, I mean, we don't really have to get too deep into this. What I will say is I highly recommend if you're not already using this, using a software called Insurance Toolkits. Badass software. It helps make the underwriting process a lot easier, a lot faster. You basically just type in whatever health conditions and medications they take, and you put that in there, and it uses their, I don't know, probably AI or something to feed over or to feed you what options they would likely qualify for. It's some really cool stuff. So if you're not already using that, I highly recommend it. Now, I will point one thing out though too when you're underwriting. When you're dealing with seniors, if when you ask them about their health, they say, I'm perfectly healthy and I take absolutely no medications. Those are usually the hardest to deal with. They usually have the worst health and they're hiding something. In my experience, I can only speak from my experience. That is what I have personally found. Usually the ones that say they have no health problems whatsoever and they take absolutely nothing end up having the worst health. They're the ones that end up having, they're missing a leg and they're on kidney dialysis, right? And then when you ask them about it at the end, when it comes out, after the application, you bring it up and they go, oh, I forgot I had that. Dude, how do you forget that you're missing a kidney? So if you get that from, I'm saying when you're dealing with seniors, right? If they tell you they take absolutely nothing and they're perfectly healthy, probe them heavily. Like make sure you specifically ask, a list of questions. Hey, well, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Have you had strokes or heart attacks? Do you take this medication? Like be very specific and thorough. If not, you will waste time on an application that ends up getting declined. Because I mean, think about it. Even your healthy seniors, like even they're taking some kind of preventative medication or maintenance medication. It usually isn't true. Can it be true sometimes? Yes, but it's very rare where that actually turns out to be the case. So medically unqualified, that could be the second disqualifier. Number 3, lack of interest or motivation. So if you're taking them through your conversation or through your presentation and they're just not engaging with you, they're giving you one-word answers, they obviously don't see any value in life insurance. I mean, you're not going to turn them into a buyer. Like it's just not going to happen. And a lot of times these guys will make comments like, they can just bury me in the backyard or they can throw me in the ocean or, well, I don't care what they do with me because I'm going to be dead anyway. And the thing is, when they're saying these things, sometimes we take them as jokes, but they're not always just jokes. Most of the time, they're telling you they really don't give a shit. And so when they're telling you they don't give a shit, listen to them. Because we're not here to convince people. And Jordan Belfort says this in his book, and I love it. He says, your job as a salesperson is to be a sifter, not an alchemist. See, a gold sifter, so someone who's sifting for gold, what they do is they sit at the river for hours and hours with the net in hand, just waiting and waiting because they know that if they wait long enough, eventually a nugget of gold is going to land in their net. That's what a sifter does. But what that sifter is not waiting to happen is waiting for the water itself to turn into gold. Because water is water and gold is gold, and neither thing is ever going to turn into the other. The only one that can do that is an alchemist, and alchemists don't exist from my understanding. So be a sifter, right? Be realistic. Don't try to turn someone into something they're not. Just find the ones that already are, right? And in this case, that means find the ones that actually are looking to protect their family. Don't try to make someone who doesn't give a shit about their family enough to make that change. Don't try to turn them into someone who does. It's just not going to happen. Because like I said, if there's no need or there's no desire to change, if they don't see any value in it, it's not going to happen. Your job is not to convince them because they're not going to buy regardless of how good the offer itself is. It's just not going to happen. And by the way, the mistakes, right? That fourth category of prospects that we talked about earlier, they also kind of fall into this category as well. So that's number 3, right? It's just a lack of interest, a lack of motivation. And number 4 is tire kicking, right? The looky-loos. Now, I said earlier, these are the most dangerous prospects to deal with because number 1, they're the hardest to spot, right? They mimic buyers and powers so well. It's kind of hard to tell the difference in the beginning, and they pretend to be super interested. But another reason that they're so dangerous is because they confuse the hell out of you. What I mean by that is, how many times have you spent time, hours, with a tire kicker who just was not serious about buying, but you spent hours with them because you thought that there was a chance? And see, what happens is they confuse you. They make you question yourself about things that have nothing to do with you, right? They're like the agents that have been having these rough weeks. They make them question their sales skills when it has nothing to do with their skill set of selling, and it has a lot more to do with their skill set of qualifying, right? Of letting go of the wrong people a lot sooner. That's what it is. So what are some red flags, right? Or some telltale signs of your looky-loos? If they use very vague statements when describing what they're looking for, so if they say something like, I want a big policy, right? Or I want something nice, and have nothing specific to back it up. And maybe you're trying to like ask them and you're trying to probe to figure out where the need is coming from. And you're just not really finding much. And they keep on saying this very vague thing. I want a big policy. I want a really big policy. I just want something big. When they use that kind of language, it's usually a very red flag, right? Like they're not seriously looking to solve a problem. They're just wanting them, like I said earlier, they want to make themselves feel like they're doing something. A lot of times they can also be overconfident about finances. So if they ever say, watch out for this phrase, money is not a problem. If they say money's not a problem, money is a big problem. Matter of fact, I remember I've been this type of person. When I was younger, when I was like 18, 19, broke as hell sleeping on my uncle's couch, I used to like always try to act like I had it like that, right? And I would always say shit like, yeah, money's not a problem for me, whatever. And money was a huge problem. I was sleeping on my uncle's couch. You know what I mean? So it was a pretty big problem. So, I mean, I've been there myself, right? I was young and immature and like just being stupid. It happens, right? So when you hear things like that, money's not a problem, they're hiding something. Or I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why they do it. I don't know why I did it. It's a thing. That's another sign. That's another red flag. If they're overly excited and they're giving you an exaggerated amount of oohs and ahs, right? Oh yeah. Like if they're just, I don't know, if it just seems ingenuine or just exaggerated in any way, or that's usually a very bad sign. And here's the biggest and most common one. If they keep on going on a bunch of random tangents, every time you try to ask them a question about the task at hand, every time you ask them a scripted question, they don't even answer the question and end up going on some kind of crazy tangent. That's a very bad sign. I'm going to show you an example of that right here with the agent that started crying at the end. So actually, as I'm listening to this, before I play it here, there's another part that I'm not going to play. I guess he sensed early that there was no urgency. And so he actually says, he asks a question that I'm assuming was meant to qualify her. He goes, hey, well, does it even bother you that you don't have any life insurance? And she said no. The answer was no, it doesn't bother me at all. See, right there, I would have ended the call. That's where it would have just completely ended. Oh, if that doesn't bother you, then I don't think I can help you at all. Right? But for whatever reason, it's crazy because it's a great question to ask to qualify, but that should have been the end of the call. And for some reason he kept on going. So anyway, here's an example of her, going off on tangents when asked simple questions.
Have you been trying to get coverage for a while, or is this like the first time?
No, I was just trying to get my life together because I thought all this paperwork and I was like, so I was going through my papers trying to get my life together, and then I just happened upon all these life insurance policies. They keep sending it. I guess they like me or something. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, I like you too, and I think we make a
it's
good team
kind
here.
of scary though. Like life insurance because you never know when you're gonna die. Because I was gonna go back to Hawaii and be with my best friend from kindergarten. Her name was Lay, like the flower Lay, and she had 5 kids just like me. And her husband got sick, and then she got sick, and then I couldn't get a hold of her, so I called her older sister. Her name was Yolanda, and we had been roommates back in the day. And I said, Yolanda, I go, okay.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna stop it, but you get the point, right? It just like it's not related whatsoever, and that's only one example, but that's pretty much how the entire call went. They spent way too much time together, and that is a huge sign of a looky-loo. Sometimes what these people really are looking for they're looking for a friend to talk to, not a policy to help their family. That's what it is. And while it's great to be friendly and everything, I'm like, you're here to do a job. You're here to protect families, also to feed your own. And you're not doing, well, let's say in this example, who's the agent on the call, didn't do either. And by the way, I sound like I'm being critical, but we've talked about this call, and he actually is the one that said, hey, you should probably make a video about this. So here we are. I don't want to sound like I'm being overly critical, or he's a really good closer, actually. Just, he was down bad that day. So those are the 4 disqualifiers, right? The 4 things you want to look out for as early as possible. I would say within the first 5 to 8 minutes of your conversation. So now you know what the disqualifiers are. Okay, your goal needs to be to find out whether or not they're qualified to buy within the first 5 to 8 minutes of the conversation, and get unqualified people out of your pipeline as soon as possible. That way you only spend time with people that can actually buy and that you can actually help. And here's the thing, it needs to be done immediately, but it also needs to be done subtly? Is that how you say that? Subtly. It needs to be done low key, let's say that. Because if you overdo it, then it might turn some people away, right? Just asking too many invasive questions up front. You've got to have rapport built, all this stuff, right? So, but it's got to be done as soon as possible. So what's an example of that? Well, instead of going, hey, do you have a bank account in the first 5 minutes, maybe working into your script some kind of conversation about Social Security and how they get paid. And maybe you can say something like, hey, these programs work with Social Security. They can get drafted on the same day that you get your benefits. Do you get yours on a direct express card, or do you get yours direct deposit? And, when you factor it in a conversation that way, it becomes a lot less invasive, right? So that's one way, for example, how you can ask these qualifying questions without being so blunt about it. Now, what do you do when you run into someone who's not qualified? Like, how do you get them off the phone? It's a lot easier than you would think. You don't have to overthink it. Just tell them the reason why they're not qualified and then get them off the phone. So you can just say something like, hey, you don't have a bank account. I'm so sorry, but I don't believe I'm going to be able to help you. And you can explain to them if you want. Look, a lot of carriers don't even take that kind of business anymore. 70% of those policies end up lapsing, and a lot of people get mad about that. So a lot of companies have stopped taking that. I won't be able to help you with that today, right? And then just get them off the phone. Apologize. I'm sorry I couldn't help you, but hopefully you find someone that can. What I would suggest, actually ask them, hey, well, do you think, look, I won't be able to help you today, but is this important enough to you for you to maybe open up a bank account? Is that possible for you to do? And let them try to open one up. See how big of a deal this really is to them. We've had some cases where they actually go and open one up. I think one of our agents actually helped one of our prospects open up a bank account, if I'm not mistaken. So, you can do something like that if you're willing to go that out of your way. But that's up to you, right? But the point is, if you're not going to be able to help them, then just get them off the phone as soon as possible. And don't overthink it. It's really not that complicated. So if you start doing this properly, what can you expect to change? Well, we've noticed 3 main differences in our business since we started doing things this way. Number 1, close ratio tripled. So it went from an average of 20% close rate to 60%, because now I'm only presenting to people who are qualified, which means that now my time is worth more, right? Because I'm valuing it more that way. Number 2, chargebacks decrease significantly. See, in the beginning, I was selling a lot of direct express business, and 90% of that business, the direct express, not my total business, but 90% of my direct express business charged back. That means 90% of that work gone. Needless to say, I don't do any direct express business anymore whatsoever. If that's all they got, I just, I let them off the phone. I say, I'm sorry, I can't work with you. I can't help you. Just like I told you to do a few minutes ago, right? So We have noticed a huge difference in chargebacks. There's still a lot of issues there. When you're in final expense, it's kind of the nature of the games, and we're still working on a couple other things, testing other things out. But that already made a huge, significant change to our chargeback rate, to our persistency rate. And number 3, stress levels mellowed out like a motherfucker. I don't find myself anymore stressing myself out about losing prospects that we're never going to buy in the first place. Remember earlier when I said that the looky-loos especially are the most dangerous types because they confuse you? Look at my 2 agents, for example, who are thinking they're having problems with selling, or they couldn't figure out what the hell they were doing wrong, when it turned out they weren't doing anything wrong other than just not getting people off the phones quick enough. And the problem with that is, especially if you can sell, dude, you are not going to let someone off the hook. That's a problem, though, if you're talking to the wrong person, because you're not going to let them off the hook, but they're not going to buy. So we're just going to go back and forth unnecessarily for way longer than we should. So what happens if you don't do a good job at qualifying, and if you don't start changing that today? This is what's going to happen.
She's on disability and she's 60
Really?
pounds. If we could just see if you qualify,
I'll
at
just
least
give
the
you the
manager.
$40 a month, okay? Forget it.
No, don't give it to me. But if we could see if you qualify,
Right
at
here.
least my manager will keep me here, because if not, once he finds out that I failed to help you, he's
You
gonna
didn't fail. I'm thinking a lot about it.
I know, but I feel like I did something wrong because
You didn't
if
do
you- if
anything
you-
wrong.
if you
I
life
just never
insurance,
done.
if you
I
life-
just don't want to go that fast. I wanted to slow down.
I know, but it's just so hard right now. I'm just trying to do the best job that I can, Miss President. I just feel
You're
like
doing a great
don't even-
job. I'm
if
so
you don't
proud
even
of you.
wanna
You're
see
doing
if
a
you
great
qualify,
job. I
good job.
qualify
I'm
up to
just
yin
trying
yang,
to-
okay? I'm like one on the wanted list of everybody. You would not believe the position. All the things I touch, they
You don't
turn.
want me. I know. You don't want me to help you, Miss President.
Stop.
I'm so disappointed.
I'm going to get fired.
President, I know. I don't want you to do anything. I know. But if we could just see if you qualify, I can tell you.
My God. All right, I'm just gonna stop it right there. I can't keep listening to that. It did not close, like we said. Here, I'm actually let me call this guy real quick and see what the hell this guy was thinking was gonna happen.
What's up, bro?
Hey, bro. So I'm recording my video right now. I got the camera rolling, but we just played that clip of you. You know what clip I'm talking about?
What you talking about?
I just want to know, bro, right here for the video. What were you thinking?
about
Like, what led you to break down?
Well, it wasn't real, dude.
No, I know it wasn't real, but
Bro, you think I'm really gonna cry?
no, but like what?
Some Hawaiian chick in Nevada?
What was going through your head? That's what I want to
It
know.
was literally a last-ditch effort, dude. It was literally last-ditch effort. That was it. If nothing else worked, then this was it. This was gonna be it. I was forced to do high pressure. And that was it. The pressure was on, dude. Hey, it's either we're moving forward the good way or I'm going to cry my way into the sale.
What did we learn on that call? I know we had a little conversation about that.
That she didn't love me like she said she did.
That's what we learned.
She said she loved me. Clearly she didn't love me enough.
Oh my God, bro. You're too funny, man. No, but what did you actually learn though, that moving forward? What was something, that you took away from that call?
Throughout the call, there were some marking points in the call that I felt that it really wasn't going the way I had intended. I didn't see a whole lot of urgency. I saw it was too lax, no urgency, she wasn't too emotionally attached. And so when I felt that, I should have just dumped the call and got on the next one. It's just that when you're new, you're on a part-time basis.
All right, so I don't know what happened there. I guess my camera battery died, but I hope you heard what he said. So basically, in his words, he didn't dump the call soon enough, and that led him to try to do whatever it takes, right, to make his time worth it. And obviously, that didn't go well. So look, I've never fake cried to try to, make a sale, and I hope you haven't either. But I have tried way too hard and just wasted everybody's time in the process. So I don't do that anymore. And here are the results. So here's what we found. This is how much time we've saved not spending time with the wrong people anymore. So by being able to filter through people within the first 10 minutes of a conversation, we've been able to save roughly 30 minutes to an hour per conversation, because it would usually take about 30 minutes to go through the presentation and then maybe another 30 minutes to overcome objections. 30 minutes, and we found that about 50% of prospects that we talk to are not qualified. And I personally talk to about 20 people a week. So that means that out of those 20 people, I'm only presenting to 10 now. So throughout the course of a year, 30 minutes times 10 prospects a week times 50 weeks in a year, let's just say, is about 250 hours that I'm saving per year by not spending time with unqualified prospects. That's about 2 months of full-time work that I get to have to myself again. So look, at the end of the day, qualifying is a skill set, but it's 100% in your control. All you have to do is make sure you ask the right questions, 5 to 10 minutes max into the conversation. That way you're only spending your time, again, with people that are qualified to buy, people that you can actually help. Why is that so important? It's not just, like I said earlier, it's not just about you, but it's also not just about the prospect themselves. Every minute that you spend with an unqualified prospect, someone that you don't even have the capability of helping, is a minute that you're not spending calling your leads who are waiting, who are qualified, who you can actually help, but they're not getting the help they need because you're not getting to them fast enough. Or maybe they get the help they need, but from someone else. They don't get it from you because you took too long spending your time with someone who's not qualified. So stop spending time with the wrong people. Also, this will help you with burnout as well. I mean, it's a lot easier to burn out when you're just spending a lot of time talking to people that are never gonna buy. It's just all around so negative. So stop doing it. You don't have to do it. Stop it today, right now. And by the way, because I used to have the mindset too of, well, I could sell anybody. I started that way in the beginning. And funny enough, that's when I couldn't sell shit. But I used to say that because I thought it was cool, right? I thought it was impressive to be able to sell anyone on anything. Here's the thing. If you're the type of person that can sell ice to an Eskimo, you're not a closer. You're just a dumbass. Because that shit is going to charge back anyway, right? You're just working for free. It doesn't mean anything. It looks good on paper. Hey, look, I sold this much premium last month, but in your bank account, it's not going to show up. So let's stop wasting time and qualifying more.